Have you ever wondered what it's like to delve into somebody else's brain? Have you ever felt you wanted to understand them more? Are you worried about someone? Today, the topic is mental health. I will not only be exploring my own mental health, but also the mental health and opinions from people I know. Before watching, if you yourself experience mental health issues, I advise that you watch this with somebody else rather than on your own. And if you feel that you need help or somebody to talk to, please contact Samaritans at 116 123. Please stay safe. For me, mental health has gotten a lot more spotlight on it. Not only do people get more options for help, they actually do get help. But that's not everyone. A lot of people suffer daily from mental health issues and problems. In 2017 alone, there were approximately 5,821 cases of suicide in the UK alone. This equates to 16 deaths per day. 16 people a day who weren't able to cope with their own minds anymore. What is surprising though is that suicide is the main killer of men under 45 years old in the United Kingdom. Before I explore my own mental state and that of the people that I know, I will be going over two things: the recent and tragic loss of Caroline Flack and the representation of mental health in the modern day media. In the past few years, celebrity suicide has sadly become a common event. From the recent death of Caroline Flack to the legendary footballer Gary Speed, it's obvious that mental health doesn't have a specific type of victim. With the rise of the media industry, there has come many negatives, one being the increasing demand in celebrity news. Caroline Flack recently went through a demise of her career due to a news story released that she had hit her boyfriend over the head with a lamp. The media took it upon themselves to write as many articles as they could. On the day that Caroline Flack took her own life, The Sun released an article sharing a comedic Valentine's card that stated, "I'll f***ing lamp you." During the time that this was written, it was obvious from Flack's physical appearance that she was going through mental health issues of her own. Before this as well, her boyfriend begged the court to drop the charges. The court didn't listen. The signs of depression were showing. Flack looked physically drained, almost ill, and there was not one day that she had a smile on her face. There was no mercy from the media or the so-called justice system. Caroline took her own life, afraid and alone, ostracised from society just for making one mistake. This takes me to my next subject: the representation of mental health in the modern day media. In the past few years, it is true that representation of mental health issues in media has gotten a lot better, with movies, songs and even YouTube videos being made to spread awareness for this subject that obviously impacts a lot of people daily. Videos named "Do All Suicide Survivors Think the Same?" and "Living with a Mental Disorder" bring light to issues that need to be talked about, bringing hope that one day the media can realise the impact that words can have on somebody's mental health. There is hope. There is also a lot of representation that is not as good. Film like Hereditary, Midsommar and Joker that the media industry misconstrued into a completely different beast. When Joker was released, the media went into a frenzy. Warnings of mass shootings, extremism and murder covered the news, plastering our minds with a negative image of the film. People were warned not to watch the film, even though the film was a social analysis of how the media can bring somebody down to the point where they can do terrible things. The film was labelled as a horrible production associated with death and misery. In my opinion, the media didn't want people to see the film, because scenes in the film where the character Murray bullies the character Arthur Fleck showed the cruelty and horror that can take place in the modern day media. Also, on social media, there is a big subject: the romanticisation of mental health issues. Due to things like depression and anxiety taking more commonplace in people's lives due to more representation in charities, people have took it upon themselves to self-diagnose their issues. These people can range from self-diagnosing depression to anxiety to Tourette's to many more things. Due to YouTube being a big platform, a lot of things happen like this on the website. YouTubers like Corinna Kopf releasing merchandise with anxiety plastered across it, to YouTubers like Zoella claiming that they have anxiety whilst not having actual proof that they do. I understand the need that people have to self-diagnose themselves due to a fear of going to the doctors and maybe getting a conclusive answer that you don't really want to hear. I myself have done this, but not in a way to romanticise the subject and be a part of a group, but to try and understand the way I'm feeling without putting a label on myself. Romanticising them is a whole other demon. Romanticisation is basically the process of taking one thing and blowing it up to create sort of a trend out of it. Something that's not supposed to be sought after becomes sought after. Mental health is not the thing to do this with. Mental health is an issue that people suffer with daily, and it's not something to be a part of a club. People suffer from these issues, and self-diagnosing yourself with these issues can really harm the people that have these actual issues. And again, these issues on the internet won't change, but if you truly feel that you yourself have a deeper issue rooted in mental health, I will advise you to please seek medical help and try and gain a better understanding of the issue. Do not self-diagnose yourself, because if you don't, then you can negatively impact people who actually have the issues that you claim to have. Now that I've spoken on these two subjects, I'm going to interview people I know and myself be interviewed. I will be gaining an insight into their mind, what they think of the issue, and if themselves have suffered from mental issues. Have you ever suffered from any mental health problems?
Yes, I've been diagnosed with depression and I suffer from anxiety too.
How do you feel the mainstream media represents these subjects?
Not in a positive light, as they don't pick up on any positives. It's more of the they've committed suicide, and it's all the negatives and they're not taking any positives from it.
Do you think these issues are more widespread than they have been in the past?
Yeah, more males are suffering from it and coming out about it rather than keeping it in and being an introvert.
Do you think that the government are supporting people with these issues enough?
No, they're keeping it all uniformed in the way they approach and the way they actually give medication out towards it.
Do you see a brighter future for people who are suffering from these issues?
No, if the government keep going in the way they are and healthcare professionals do, then it won't cause any help.
What would you say to someone who is also suffering from any mental health problems?
It's okay not to be okay, because everyone out there may be suffering from it and you don't necessarily know. So if you all come together, you can all help each other in any way that you can.
Have you ever suffered from mental health problems?
Luckily enough, no, I've not suffered from any mental health problems.
How do you feel the mainstream media represents the subject of mental health?
I think they represent it very poorly. I think there's so much more that they could do to help raise awareness for those suffering.
Do you think that these issues are more widespread than ever?
Yes, definitely.
In what way?
More people suffer nowadays.
Do you think the government are supporting people enough who have these issues?
No, nowhere near. I think it should be prioritised a lot more by the government, but they seem to have more pressing issues that aren't as important.
Do you see a brighter future for people who are suffering from these problems?
As much as I'd like to say yes, I don't think they do now.
What would you say to someone who is suffering from mental health issues?
Make sure that you've got somebody to speak to and don't bottle it up because it'll never help.
Have you ever suffered from any mental health problems?
I have, yeah.
Which issues?
Depression and a few other things, however, I think they're growing away now, are all gone, so depression would be the main one.
How do you feel the mainstream media represents the subject of mental health?
I don't think they represent it very well at all. They make it rather trivial. They make it seem like it's so normal in this day and age that anyone could have it from any age and it's not that big of a deal, but you can get help for it, and they try and advertise providers for it, and it's just, I don't know, it's not very well lit up and it's not very sort of respected as the genuine issue that it is.
Do you think that these issues are more widespread than they have been in the past?
Yeah, definitely, because over the years I don't think people have been half as depressed as this generation, and it's definitely getting worse, so it's certainly more widespread, I'd say.
Do you think that the government is giving enough support to people who have mental health issues?
They offer it out. Whether it's actually helpful or not is, I suppose, down to the person. I personally don't think it's very well given or very well received. I don't think they do enough, but then again, it can help some people. It just depends who you are.
Do you see a brighter future for people who are suffering from mental health issues?
If they can push on, definitely. I mean, it's a tough thing to get in and out of, and it is an upswing and a downswing constantly, but if you can push through it, yeah, definitely.
What would you say to other people who are suffering from these mental health issues?
Find what makes you happy and really sort of make that part of your character and be happy about being yourself, and let that sort of fuel you to just be happy constantly instead of being down all the time.
Have you ever suffered from mental health problems?
Yeah,
Which ones?
depression and bipolar.
How do you feel the mainstream media represents these subjects?
Very badly, because they don't have a greater understanding of the issues.
Do you think these issues are more widespread than ever?
Yeah, because a lot of people are affected by them.
Do you think that the government are supporting people enough?
Yes and no, they are supporting people, but to an extent, because as I said before, the understanding might not be there. And it's dependent on the person as well.
Do you see a brighter future for people who suffer from these issues?
Again, it depends on the person, but as a whole, probably not, no.
What would you say to somebody who's suffering from mental health issues?
Just always have someone you can talk to, and there's probably people worse off than you, and there's always a solution to where you're at, because it's all mental.
Have you ever suffered from mental health problems?
Yeah, I've never had them diagnosed, but personally I've had symptoms of depression, very recent symptoms of anxiety, and I have had panic attacks and such things in the past.
How do you feel the mainstream media represents these subjects?
Personally, I'm not a fan of the way that they represent these subjects, because a lot of the media bully people, and whenever someone famous commits suicide, they'll change their whole act up to praise that person in every way they can, and I think it's quite hypocritic, because they don't really understand mental health, because a lot of the media don't actually have mental health problems that you see present in the news, so I think they don't represent it in a way that's accurate.
Do you think these issues are more widespread than ever?
Yeah, I think the issues can range from someone who's 9 years old and too scared to go outside because of bullying, to someone who's 60 who's just alone and like extremely depressed. So I think you can't really label the people who have it, because it's that widespread at this point that like anybody could have it.
Do you think... Sorry. Do you think the government are doing enough to support people?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that they've set up a lot of charities and they're doing a lot of work to try and improve what they're doing, but no in the way that, again, they don't really understand the people, because a lot of the government decision makers live in like very middle to upper class areas, so they wouldn't really understand people from lower class areas. But I guess these sort of would people from upper class areas. So
Yeah. Do you see a brighter future for people suffering from these issues?
yes and no. Yes, that people are learning to cope with it, but a lot of people are still stuck in a loop of just self-destructive behaviour. So for some people I do see a brighter future, but for some I don't.
What would you say to someone suffering from these issues?
I'd say just surround yourself with the right people. Just be a better person than you have been in the past, and just learn to grow and just sort of accept who you are and learn from your mistakes and just try and build yourself a better future. Have you ever suffered from any mental health problems?
Yes.
How do you feel that the mainstream media represents these subjects?
Good and bad. I think they don't understand people who suffer properly.
Okay. Do you think that the issues have become more widespread than in the past?
Yes, due to mass media exposure, especially in the Western society.
Okay. Do you think that the government are supporting people enough who have mental health issues?
No, I don't think they support people with, what's the word? Medical issues. Never mind mental health issues properly.
Okay. Do you see a brighter future for people who suffer from mental health issues?
Yes and no, because I think there'll be more support, but mental health issues don't just go away.
And finally, what would you say to someone who is also a sufferer from mental health issues?
Well, there's plenty of websites and people you can call. You should get support from your family and friends, and go to Samaritans, Open Door, Mind, etc.
Okay, thank you. I really hope that you learnt something about mental health from this short documentary. This subject is very personal, dark and scary at times, but together as a society we can learn to move past and support the people who have these issues and maybe create a better future for everybody. And if you yourself have any issues that you need to speak to someone about, again, contact Samaritans at 116 123. Thank you. Stay safe.